Thanks for staying with us. South Africa will reportedly push for military intervention in neighbouring Mozambique when SADC countries meet next week. That's according to an exclusive report carried by the Reuters news agency today. In April, the SADC region deployed a technical mission to Mozambique, which is expected to report back to the group. Thousands of people have been left without homes since the violence escalated in Mozambique's north. Africa analyst Jasmine Opperman has been following developments there and joins us now live. Jasmine, good to speak to you. Do you think most of the SADC leaders, if this report in the Reuters news agency or by the agency is completely correct, will back calls for military intervention?
Good evening, Thembekile, and to the viewers. Yes, I think that there is a clear agreement that intervention is surely needed. Where the fault lines come in is what type of intervention will they decide on with a package that has been proposed to them. And also then, in terms of a joint force, command and control, who's going to lead? That finally, Thembekile, Maputo will have to decide if they will support such an intervention. If not, it will not proceed.
And Reuters say they spoke to our International Relations Minister, Lady Pandor. I want to read you the quote where she says, quote, "We support the use of the Defence Pact. It's never really been utilised in the region, but we believe this is the time. This is a great threat to the region." And the SADC, of course, region has that provision for a standby brigade. It goes back to 2008. Is that the best option?
In terms of freezing the insurgency, I don't think the region can should have actually not ignored this reality for some time. The problem we sit in Thembekile is to get a joint force off the ground, get it into the area with all the support structures. Marine security, air security, land security is not an overnight process. How prepared they are at a regional level to implement the complexities thereof, and then coupled with that, deployed in a manner that will address the problems, is the concerns that we are sitting with in the region. One sense that there's a urgency, a rush, but if they are going to rush in with a war on terror mentality, I'm afraid that intervention is not going to sustain the freezing of the insurgency we desperately so need in Cabo Delgado.
Also very key, when Minister Pandor reportedly says it's a threat to the region, will be intervening in a way that protects the various countries' citizens from retaliatory attacks by some of the groups present in Mozambique.
A great risk for the region. Cabo Delgado insurgency has a strong local element, local roots playing out. And also on the border area with Tanzania. But the problem comes in with the Islamic State. Now that it has been designated, the Islamic State has its eyes even more on Cabo Delgado. And the moment there is intervention, rest assured that the Islamic State will initiate or will propagate and could even lead to that lone individual out there to show their discontent by means of actions. So the deployment proceeding needs a backup plan that can protect local citizens, because if that goes wrong, Cabo Delgado deployment surely will be questioned, and there will be serious accountability to be made by our leaders.
An element, quite key in fact, to the fighting in Mozambique's north has to do with the battle for resources. We've seen multinationals come in, proceed with exploration objectives. When you look at that, there's no way that SADC can really end the real issues in Mozambique's north or address them fully without dealing with the economic angle, the poverty, the unemployment, and people who are now being recruited, especially young men, to join these forces precisely because they are jobless and poor and feel a resentment to those in power.
And hence, Thembekile, and it's so important what you said now, the military intervention cannot be a silo intervention. It needs to be part of a broader plan. But when it comes to addressing the socio-economic needs, and I want to add there, the human dignity, the lack of trust in government, as you've noted, how young people are joining the insurgents at this point in time. The military intervention will create the environment in which the Maputo government can move in and then start implementing some level of administration, some level of regaining the trust. A military intervention will not deal with the root causes. That remains the responsibility of the Mozambican government, and it must be part of a strategic plan, which I still have to see.
Jasmine Opperman, always good to speak to you. Thank you so much for being on eNCA as always.